Last week I reviewed Star Wars the card game and I talked about the base game. Today I want to review one of the deluxe expansions for the game. This expansion is called Between the Shadows, and it features most prominently objective decks for the Jedi faction and objective decks for the Scum and Villainy factions. All the other factions also get at least one objective deck, but these are the ones that are definitely the protagonists here. Between the Shadows also already kind of gives us this idea of the factions that somehow tend to be stealthy, that hide in the shadows and come out to punch the opponent, come out in powerful pointed attacks. And these are new decks that, yes, they add a little bit of stealth actually, but it seems to me that what they really do is to add some punch. They definitely add some interesting combat capabilities for the factions involved. The new Jedi objective decks are very important to me because the Jedis are my favorite faction. Call me a sentimental, call me a traditionalist, but I like the Jedis. I like to play as the Jedis. So I'm very happy that we have some new Jedi stuff here. Thematically, we have objective decks to cover events on Dagobah from the original trilogy. We have the participation of Obi-Wan Kenobi with an objective that focuses on him. And then we have two objective decks that are related to Endor in terms of theme. Starting from Dagobah, here we have the Master's Domain, where we have, of course, the man himself. Yoda is a man, of course, but very powerful stuff, very powerful ability, elite unit, and expected that. This is a card that we have seen before. And here we have some other things, such as this creature here. An interesting deck is the Journey Through the Swamp that allows you to have the reaction that you see here, which is always good when you search your deck for a creature card with a printed cost of 3 or lower and put it into play. And in general, this deck has in several instances this ability of allowing you to deploy creatures more easily. I guess the swamps of Dagobah simply generate all sorts of lives, regenerate all sorts of creatures. And so there's going to be a lot of critters going around and potentially threatening your opponent. So for example here, life creates it. It's alive! If you control at least a Dagobah objective, you put all creature units and enhancements from your discard pile into play. Really neat. We have a very beautiful image representing one of the most iconic moments in the original Star Wars trilogy, allowing you to reposition focus tokens. An enhancement that can turn into a monster, that can turn into a creature, and more native creatures from the swampy planet of Dagobah. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the objective tells us that while you control 3 or more objectives, and these objectives undamaged, then you increase the cost of each event card played by an opponent by 1, so pretty neat because it puts a burden on the opponent. The Noble Sacrifice, maybe because this is such a powerful moment in the movies, I expected somehow the effect to be even more powerful, even more significant. Mind you, it's a good effect, but I expected something epic, like you play this card and then Luke Skywalker becomes invincible and wins the game for you. I know in game terms that wouldn't work all that well, but dude, when you evoke that episode in a card, at least that's kind of the expectation that I have, even if I have to ruin the game. I'm kidding. I'm happy with the effect because it's balanced with the rest. But you know what I mean, right? So we got our favorite little robot. We have him in another incarnation of among the various cards that allow you to play the role, in any case to see an involvement of Obi-Wan in the game. And here we have the Lightsaber that enhances a Force user, so pretty much what you would expect, but it's particularly powerful if you use it to enhance Obi. As for Endor, we have a Hero's Trial that allows you to play an enhancement from your hand. So see that you have these cards that allow you to punch really hard because you have some really powerful warriors, and then you have other cards that facilitate playing enhancement, playing more creatures. It simply speeds up the process of bringing forces to bear against the opponent. And again, given the quality of the Jedi faction, the nature of the Jedi faction that attempts to create concentrated, powerful attacks against the opponents, that is particularly good. So here we have Luke Skywalker, we have the speeder bike, we have the lightsaber, because that's very important, you know. And we have this card here that enhances a Force user. And then, well, there's a card that we've seen before. Andor, well, artistically and thematically, this is the one that has the teddy bears. And yes, I'm one of those Star Wars fans that is not a big fan of little warrior teddy bears. But I have to say, in game terms, they're not bad at all. Because look at this guy, for example, manipulates the number of cards that you have by allowing you to draw cards. It's still a teddy bear. I wish they were a little more, I don't know, thematically interesting in the movies to start with. I can't blame the card game for depicting them in the ridiculous way that they are in the movies. You can move focus tokens, and similar situations here. Yeah, we have an interrupt that allows you to return a Ewok to the owner's pile instead of placing a discard pile when the unit is destroyed. So they come out of the woodwork, they come out of everywhere, which pretty much makes sense. These little annoying guys are everywhere, which is good for, you know, they're allies, but it's just, they just look a little weird. I don't like the Ewoks. Now for the Scum and Villainy. And Scum and Villainy, you may see family resemblance a little bit with the previous ones, in the sense that also these are objectives that increase the lethality, increase the combat capabilities, and also in that sense increase the punch that the faction can deliver by allowing it to bring many units in play in a faster way. Speaking about punch, all units in the all-out brawl objective gain the icon that allows them to attack, so they become particularly lethal. A good Carter, the Black Sun warrior, so we have him with these icons here, with the Force interrupt. That, look at this, when this unit is destroyed, destroy each other unit in play. This is pretty much Armageddon. And then we have other similar units that again similar units and cards that increase again the lethality, the combat capabilities of the faction. There's a nice card that you also find in another deck that features Boba more prominently, but so there's a card that we have in several objective decks, and that allows you to force the opponent to choose a different eligible units to strike instead, if able. And then you also draw a card, so you manipulate the attack of the opponent, you limit the attack of the opponent, redirect it the way you want, and also get a card in the process. How cool is that? We have the best credits that the money can buy. I'll let you have a look at these cards, which are interesting but not the most exciting ones. But here we have a very cool Scum and Villainy deck with the No Disintegrations effect, which allows a bounty hunter or mercenary to attack in such a way that the damage that is assigned to the opponent cannot be reassigned. Protectors do not work. We got snipers now. Boba Fett, this is one impressive card. Just does what you would expect good old Boba to do. To do a lot of damage, to be particularly lethal, and also never to stop firing, because after the unit resolves a strike, you remove all focus tokens from the unit. The card that we saw before, the Flamethrower, which is nasty enough, and then we have an affiliate in the bounty hunter profession. Speaking of the hunters, here again we're talking about lethality. Each objective you control gains +1 damage capacity while you control 3 or more objectives, so these people can resist, can help you resist longer. We got another Black Sun guy, Bush, and a couple of other these annoying entities, a mix of units and actions that, again, will allow you to attack the opponent in larger numbers and with more powerful attacks. Nice Carter, this dude here, Prinsizer. After an objective display, you capture a card at random from each opponent's hand. There are also several effects here in this common villainy that do allow you to capture cards and to interact with cards that you have captured. So it's all good. There definitely is a synergy here. As for other cards, as for other factions, I really like the deck for the Rebel Alliance, because look at their actions. Allows you to, for the objective, allows you to discard a fake card from your hand to resolve its ability. So you're able to activate actions rapidly. After the unit enters place, you return the topmost fate card from your discard pile to your hand, and the Rebel Alliance has several of these effects in here that allows you to manipulate the ratio cards between your deck and your hand. For example, we have this other card here that also allows us to discard the edge stack, return a fate card, non-named Twister Fate from that edge stack to the owner's hand. So you can spend extra actions, but you can also then recover, retain actions. The Sith, when they start investigating, their objective is also pretty neat because it allows them to force an opponent not to play a certain type of card. And then here, you can see, you can stop, pause, and see the effects. And finally, we have a deck for the Imperial Navy, and with abilities that protect the troopers. This is what this objective deck mainly does. We have two cards that protect troopers and other cards that increase the capabilities of the troopers. So that's a good combo of effects to have. You protect them and you make them a little more lethal. Given how poorly the troopers perform in the movies, to me is always a little funny to play a game where actually they can hit something, but such is the nature of the game. So between the shadows, here we go. Here's the rule book or rule sheet, which really pretty much is just a description of what you find. Between the Shadows, definitely a good expansion. If you play routinely with the Jedi deck or the Scum and Villainy deck, then this absolutely is an expansion that you will not want to miss. Especially for a Jedi player or Jedi-oriented, a Jedi-prone player such as myself, this is an expansion that adds a lot of power, adds a lot of interesting choices. You may know from my reviews that I usually do not enjoy building decks too much, or I should say selecting decks too much. I always like to play with the pre-selected decks that come with games, but actually it really is fun to put together Jedi decks and to combine different abilities that come from the Jedi situation. I like to create a bit of a biography of Skywalker, of a little summary of the original trilogy by combining the decks from the original set with these ones here. They definitely are sets, they definitely are objectives that increase the attack power, and that is always fun, that are meant to keep the opponent off balance. You need to keep producing enemies just so that the opponent is always forced to be on the defensive, and these new situations, these new decks that we have here really makes it easier to do that, to keep pouring out enemies and to force the opponent on the defensive as you are pursuing other goals, as you are trying to achieve your overall goal in the game. Definitely fun. For the other factions, this expansion offers less, but even when we're talking about factions that only come with a new objective, such as the Sith and the Rebel Alliance, still you have some interesting stuff. I mean, these are valuable decks that definitely add flavor and a dynamic feel to the game. So between the Shadows, a deluxe expansion for Star Wars, the card game. If you already have played the game, this is really an expansion that you will not want to miss. It's a very valid, very solid expansion, and definitely adds a lot to the original game.